there's things that happened through the retreat that I broke through. I got a lot clearer on my intuition, which then resulted the decisions that I make, which then resulted in more of like how my partner chooses to pursue her career, how she just like where she spends her time and things like that. That's probably the easiest way I can talk about that. But yeah, for me, it was much more of a clearer guide on my own intuition.
Hey, what's up, legend? Welcome to another episode of the Rich Mystic podcast. And today I have a very special guest who's actually my first ever guest on the podcast. He's popping the guest cherry, Mr. Alan Howe. And I've known Alan Howe for, I don't know, maybe...
Internet friends for a little while.
And then when was that retreat?
March?
No, the Livia's one.
Oh, that was in 2020. That was before all the shit came down.
Went down. Yeah. Before the world fell apart.
Yeah. Sometime around that point.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
So we're sort of just acquaintances then. And I remember Alan reaching out to me saying, hey, bro, if you ever do a retreat, let me know.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I put on a retreat and I reached out to Alan. I said, dude, I'm doing that retreat. And he's like, all right, I'm in. And he just paid his money and he was on. And yeah, brother, it's been awesome to get to know you, and you've really also become an integral part of the Rich Mystic Man and delivering some value to the rich man community, because your value and your expertise comes around capturing people's essence, capturing people's content, and how to deliver their message, through social platforms, video specifically. Yeah, so I'd love to just, where do we start?
Don't know. You gave me a big ego. I might not be able to fit out the door. My head might not be able to fit out of that door.
It's
but thank you.
You can just run at it. Just run at it. You'll get through there.
If you give me a bum tap, I might be okay.
That's an inside joke. Alan,
sorry,
I realized
taps.
at our just a bit of context. So Alan's a
bum tapper.
He's a bum tapper at the retreat. He's hugging. He gives a little bit of a bum tap, and I'm like, what the and then I'm like, did you play footy or something? Because that's the only other time I've seen people doing the bum taps, and it turns out he does. So
yeah.
It's
I think it's a footy thing. I thought it was a normal thing, but it's obviously not. It's so as I brought it into the community, it was a little bit I don't know. People like yourself, you're like, what are you what are you doing? And then it just grew on everyone. So
now we all just pat bums.
Yeah, correct.
It's
just a thing.
It's a Rich Mystic Man bum tap.
Correct. Yeah. No, it's good.
So whilst you're here, brother.
Yeah.
I guess while we're on the topic of the Rich Mystic Man, is you're someone that's been there, from the beginning. You've been to the Rich Mystic Man retreat. You've now been to the Rich Man retreat. We've smoked a toad together. We've been on a real journey together, and even so much so that the last retreat, Alan sort of pulls me aside. He said, "Hey, bro, like, what would it look like for me to come and spend 24 hours with you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Man, I just, I love proximity. I want to be in your presence, and just put a price on it and let me know, and I'll be there." And I was like, "Oh, that's different. I've never really thought about that as a concept or an idea." And so I put a price on it. Alan's like, all right, I'm in. And so here we are. We're on that stint together.
Yeah.
And would love to just give a bit of an insight of your experience of the Rich Mystic Man.
Where to start? So first and foremost, even when I reached out to you, I had no idea what you were going to do. It was just, I think it's something about your energy and your essence. You use the word essence a lot. And I just resonate with the calmness. I resonate with the focus, but also your mission and your dedication to your mission. And I knew that, if you were ever going to put something together, I just want to be a part of it. Especially when you run an online business, especially for me, I'm at a point now where we have a team. So in our video agency, we have some incredible team members. So I'm here on the Gold Coast doing some filming, but realistically, I've got videographers here. I've got videographers all around Australia who go out and do act and work on behalf of Triple Effect and what we do. And so because of all of that, and especially like through COVID and whatnot, I really like missed that connection, that face-to-face connection. And I knew that if you put something, like I just knew that with the way that you work and operate, with what you do, the moment that you put something together, I just wanted to be a part of it. And so that's where it started. And boy, like I think at the end of the first retreat, after like we actually got to meet everyone and whatnot, I felt like, I think I mentioned, felt like the vulnerability camp, because we did some, like, I'm not going to uncover everything that we did, but we did some really, really vulnerable things. Like we rapped, we obviously did Toad, and then there was a couple of other things that we did throughout the retreat that were very sacred and like really deep men's work. And it was
what happens on retreat stays on
that's
retreat.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I've just tried to give the high level stuff and without giving away too much. But what happened on that first one was so transformative for me. It was so like liberating. Like the Toad was very very prolific experience as well. And so, yeah, there's so much that I got out of that experience that I wanted to be a part of the next one. And what I loved about even the community is there was not a single ego in either one. You know, there wasn't anyone who was trying to be better than anyone. It felt like a real men's community where we're all supportive. Everyone's just cheering each other on. Like we're all at different levels in business, in life, in families, like all this other stuff. And it was just really cool to have like, especially like just have that community and have that time with some of the other men and being a part of it. And it was really good. It was just really good. Like I don't really know there's other words that I can put it so simply, but like it was fantastic. And yeah, I'm also a big advocate for men's mental health anyway. Like I've got my own story of like how I've overcome, you know, drugs and addiction and a few other things as well. But it was just good to be around committed men who are willing to commit to themselves, their future, and all those other things as well. So
yeah, epic, man. Or epic. So I see that as a slogan. The Rich Mystic Man. It's really good.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. It's really good.
It's really good.
It's really good.
That will definitely tell them, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned about, you know, the retreat and being in the space and the experience you had there. Just give us an insight into like, you know, maybe how your work life or your home life has shifted.
And changed, yeah. So I think like the one that was probably the most surprising is because when you're working on yourself, you probably don't realize how much that actually impacts the people around you. Like you're going through like these transformations and limiting beliefs and you're breaking through this stuff, this work, coming to new realizations and learning more and all this other stuff. But I think the thing that surprised me the most is not only the impact on my own self-belief. Like I think after the first one, the biggest thing that I had was I felt like I was just very decisive I was very in tune with my intuition. Like, yes, no, not right now. Like, and I could literally like, you know how like you get a little bit lost with like, what should I do? Marketing, money, business, etc. Just had this very decisive intuition. And it was clearer than ever before. But what I was alluding to before is I didn't realize the impact it would have on my wife and my family, because naturally, as you make shifts and changes, those shifts and changes, because you're connected to your partner, to your kids and all those other things, are naturally going to happen. So I went home, and without going into like heaps of detail, things had changed and there was some disruption at home, and all for the good, all for the best. But like I got home and it was not what I was expecting. Like I just wasn't expecting it to connect into my family the way it did. But as a family unit, we evolved. I know that sounds fluffy, but the best way I can put it is there's things that happened through the retreat that I broke through. I got a lot clearer on my intuition, which then resulted the decisions that I make, which then resulted in more of like how my partner chooses to pursue her career, how she just like where she spends her time and things like that. That's probably the easiest way I can talk about that. But yeah, for me, it was much more of a clearer guide on my own intuition. And almost like I know this, and the second retreat for me, this is going to sound really weird coming from a dude, is I actually learnt more about my own sensitivity, right? Now, I actually struggled with this, like initially, like being sensitive sounds like you're a fucking pussy. But what I learnt is that sensitivity to my emotions and to who I am as a person is actually a superpower, and it allows me like to tune into people, especially when we're filming. And it's why I feel like I'm very drawn to you as well, like your essence and things like that. Like I can really sense good and pure beyond what people say and beyond what people like the facade that people have. And so, yeah, that's probably a good summary of it.
Yeah, nice. And I love that you shared, and it's quite apparent. And I know from my own experience in my own life, like doing something like that and immersing yourself into a retreat or having some, like smoking a toad, for example, is like you go deep and you unpack and you unravel so much and you change, and then you go back to your family or your business or, like you said, your intuition, like things has changed, and it has this massive ripple effect on other people.
Yeah.
And often people are like, man, it's my wife or it's my kids or it's something outside of themselves, when all realistically it's like if you just change, if you have the shifts and become clearer within yourselves, then your whole world and how people perceive you and how they respond to you changes.
All evolves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Epic, man. Now, thanks for that. I appreciate your insights and your shares and your testimony. And would love to. You talked about mental health, and you have a really powerful story, which I'm really inspired by, and I think it's something that you did a post about it the other day on your social media, and and if you're okay, talking about that, and so I guess like I know you had a bit of a drug and alcohol addiction, and I guess give us an insight into that. Part of your life, and then also to like now changing it and cutting that out, and how that's what space that's opened up.
Yeah, absolutely. So for context, like I went through most of high school and most of my teenage years not touching any drug, not touching anything, because I was a good Christian boy and heavily involved in church almost every day of the week. And then there was an incident that happened with my family. Unfortunately, like my grandparents both died in a car accident. It was really, really sad when I was about 20. And it was a catalyst for me to like just look at life and like, especially when someone so close to you passes or both of my grandparents passed away, it had me really look inside and go, what are you doing in life? What's the purpose of everything? And during that time, I had my cousin came up to me and asked me, why are you spending so much time in church? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I'm part of a community. But like I usually had an answer for everything, and that time I didn't. And from there, like there was just I would call it like a little bit of an evolution of going to the dark side, right? Going to see all the things that I hadn't seen before, being drunk, and then, being introduced to weed, which then introduced me to pills, which introduced me to cocaine. And I went down this path of exploring the edges of like how drunk I could get myself, like how fucked up can I get
How old were you here?
This is like throughout my 20s.
20s, okay.
Yeah. But I'd say probably, there were different times that I experimented with different things. And for the most part, I was a highly functioning person, but what I will say is that especially when you have kids and you're still doing all of that stuff, your worlds collide, right? And for the most part, sorry, knocking the table here. For the most part, I'd done a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps from people who didn't want to know about it and didn't need to know about it. But I was living this double life, if you will, and it got to a point, especially like so my daughter is 8 in this year. She turns 9 later this year. But when my daughter was born, that was probably one of the first wake up calls. Is like, you're now responsible for another human being, and it's not just you. And then as that was starting to take effect, it was probably when I turned 30 that my son was born. So he's 6. So I turned 30. I'm 36 today, and I still remember when he was born. I was sort of coming to grips with being a father, and obviously having your second child there really puts it into perspective. And I remember
it goes from having one child to feeling like you have 7.
Yes. Yeah. Like you just like your whole world, like it was manageable to like live this double life, but it's that second life is slowly crumbling. And I was already like in this transition phase of like, you know, going out and not really like enjoying myself, like feeling like I'd get cocaine and stuff and no one else wanted to do it. I couldn't have a drink without needing it. Like, or put it this way, even if we were at like a Sunday barbecue and there's no access to drugs or anything, my brain is just ticking over going, where's the bags? Where's the bags? Where's the bags? And as like a silent battle that I was facing. And I knew that it just wasn't like, I wasn't happy with where I was at in life. I was working in a corporate job that it wasn't fulfilling me. My son was born and all of this stuff's happening. And then when my son was born, that was a catalyst for me starting my business. And my business was a catalyst for me giving up drugs and alcohol for good. So today, it's been 3.5 years that I've been sober. And the whole catalyst for it was I was going down a path where I couldn't keep up with it. I just couldn't keep up with living this double life. And I just needed to, I have a family, 2 beautiful kids, an amazing wife, a huge business opportunity, and I can't waste it on the weekends with randos and strangers and, you know, because that life, it doesn't lead to where I ultimately want to go, and it's not a fulfilling life for me. So, and for me, like some people can have that discernment. I know my personality is very addictive and I just can't, at this stage and at this point, I can't not do something. So even like, you know, I've just been in Fiji a couple of weeks ago. Jess was having a cocktail and I could have easily had like an alcoholic cocktail. Like, wouldn't it have been a problem? But the problem will be that like I'll have a drink there and then I'll have another drink in 2 weeks' time, and then I'll have another drink in 2 weeks' time, and then I'll be somewhere where I have another drink and there's a bag, and then I'm back on the bandwagon, and I know that one decision is going to lead to the others. So with that self-awareness, I could sense that my business, it's got a lot of opportunity, and I was spending a lot of time hungover, and for that reason, I was just like, no, cut this out. Now, for the most part, I actually managed to keep it under wraps a lot, but I think when I started to give up alcohol and all the other things, I really started to really understand the impact of it and the impact that it had, not only to your mental health, but also like your ability to feel emotion and all those other things. And I'm not here to sit and proclaim that alcohol's bad or recreational drugs are bad. It just didn't work for me. And it just didn't align with my path, my mission, and who I am and all those other things. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome, man. And I love what you shared, like the decision you made in Fiji where it's like, you know, you could have had a cocktail and that could have been it. But then, you know, 2 weeks later, you're having another cocktail. And it just shows like, I guess the compounding effect of a quote
decision.
unquote negative decision.
Yeah.
A decision. And let's say it's not negative. You could
Yeah.
have a drink and that's it, or you could
Yeah.
have a bag and that's it. It's not
Yeah.
a big deal, but knowing that, okay, I do this today, I do that again next week, it's going to contribute to a compounding effect somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, instead of that, you still have, it's like you're choosing to channel your energy, like maybe into a present conversation with your wife, or better time with your children, or more time in your business. And so then you're shifting that energy and it's having a compound effect then into the positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, for anyone who runs a business or needs the brain capacity, like you'll know and understand, like business is fucking hard. Like, let alone being a father, let alone being a man in today's day and age, it's hard. Like, and so I don't want to disadvantage myself. I just want to make sure I'm on the front foot.
Yeah, there's a girl on my team, Kylie, and she recently, she shared with me she hadn't drunk in 9 months, and her business is flying, crushing it, right, absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
And we had an event in Bali, and she was at the bar and she was having a drink, and I was like, "Oh, Kylie, you're having a drink?" She goes, "It's a mocktail." I was like, "Oh, sweet."
Yeah.
She's like, "Clint," she goes, I can't afford to like be hungover.
Yeah.
She goes, I've got so much to do. I've got some big goals. Like I just can't afford to fuck up a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's really powerful. Like that's really inspiring, because when you're in it, you don't really think of it, but it is. It's like every time you go out or whatever, it's like the whole next day's out, and sometimes 2 days. And then if you're on a 2-3 day bender, then, like it's taking out your whole week, and you're just constantly going downward in this.
Exactly right. But even like for me, just before I gave up, like even just like a beer at the pub for lunch, like you have, like let's say you're going to the pub, you're having a chicken schnitzel, and you grab a skewy. That impact of that one skewy for the next 3 hours, like you're so unproductive. Like it didn't work for me. So hence that decision. Yeah.
Nice, man. Awesome. So let's talk about your. We've got about probably 7 minutes left.
Boom, let's make it happen.
That's would love to hear about what you do. So you triple effect.
Yes.
Yeah. So give us the insight.
Play on ripple effect, but triple effect. Yes. So the main thing that people will know us for is that we create 6 months worth of video content and film it all in 2 days. And so for the most part, we work with a whole range of different people from coaches. We work with a lot of people in property. Real estate agents, mortgage brokers, people who offer some sort of service and really want to build an effective relationships with their clients. And we're also supporting podcasting and all that other stuff as well. So there's a few things that we're doing in the background. We've got a team across Australia. So I'm based on the New South Wales Central Coast, but we've got 2 videographers in Sydney, Melbourne, one on the Gold Coast, Adelaide and Perth, who've been with us for the last 2.5 to 3 years, just depending on where they're based and whatnot. And and we've got a whole team and strategy behind the way that we execute and go about things. And for the most part, just really happy and proud to, like even just looking back, like I'm up on the Gold Coast now, doing some filming with some of our clients. And it's really cool to just be able to see the impact of you. Like sometimes it's good to just be face to face and just really hear and see the impact that what you're doing is having on other people. And it really plays into my soul mission as a man as well, which is around, I have a massive soul mission around men's mental health, but also helping people find their message, find their voice and find their own essence. There's a few things in there.
Nice. What would you say, someone that's, because I guess, would you put it on the banner of personal branding?
Yeah. Marketing, social media marketing. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because, a big thing that I talk about with the Rich Mystic Man is like, you're having a high ticket offer.
Yeah.
Learning how to sell, learning how to market, and then, building a personal brand and getting your message out using social media. So, maybe like some insights, some snippets. Into that field.
Okay. So off the cuff, there's one that I would highly recommend. So people ask like, what do I post? What do I share? What do I do? I think the easiest thing is I break it down into 4 categories. So the first one is I like to, really make sure we understand someone's brand, even conversational. So this is perfect. Like what we're doing right now is very conversational. There's no other than like, delivering value or, following, like providing value to the Rich Mystic Man community. There's no real like objective. It's just a free flowing conversation, and it really allows you to feel someone's essence. Conversational type videos is the first one. Second one is educational. So, if you're teaching something or educating on something about your brand, about your industry, these are insights that you can teach based on your experience, based on things that based on, whatever. That's educational type videos. Then the next one is results and social proof. So this is actually being able to see the results. So for a lot of the clients we work with, it's about testimonials, case studies, reviews, social proof of like, I did X service and I got X result. Like this is the return on investment. This is what it looks like. And then the last one is like call to action type videos. So these are video sales letters, videos that you would typically see on Facebook ads, things like that, videos that are used on landing pages, those sorts of things. So that's what I like when someone asks me, like, what do you like? If I'm a business, what do I post? I like to try and find a way to create content into those 4 categories. And realistically, if you do that consistently and you have those 4 categories, that you're sort of sharing on a fortnightly basis and just realistically just touching each one of those points on a consistent basis, that's one of the fundamental ways of having a business grow online anyway.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love the my favorite out of all them is like the essence one, just sort of getting to know someone and like you said, just sort of having a casual conversation and seeing what, comes up so you can get to know, like, and trust someone. And then when they put out an offer, you're like, fuck yeah, I like that person at least, I'm curious about what they're doing. So
100%.
It's at that time, eh?
So almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So just to wrap it up, I'd like to give the Rich Mystic Man community listeners some actionables. And so I feel like from this episode, from talking with Alan, is one, come and experience the Rich Mystic Man retreats or workshops or something like that. I'll have some details in the show notes below because I'm actually launching a 12-month container, which Alan's part of.
I've already joined. Am I the first one?
You were the first one?
Fuck yes. That's right, motherfuckers.
First one. And then secondly would be to, I guess just sort of consider some of your daily habits and some of the things you're saying yes to and, how are they compounding over time?
The compounding effect,
the compounding effect. So, we're not here, I know we're both not here saying don't drink or don't touch any drugs or anything like that. It's like, that's not what about. Yeah, you do you, but it's like, have a look at the reality of those, that the compounding effect of those decisions made, day in, day out, both good and bad.
Absolutely.
And then thirdly was build a personal brand. And what are those 4 things?
Conversational, educational, results and social proof, call to action.
Legend. And we'll put in some details about the triple effect.
Yep.
And maybe some download if I can screw
Let's
one
do
out
it.
of Alan. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Legend.
You twist my arm. Really easy.
It'll be in the show notes below.
Fuck yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Sitting here watching the clock, I'm struggling, thinking of the bullshit that I've been juggling. Is there more to life than this? I'm thinking twice about the price I'm paying in this 9 to 5 life. The sweatshop on the globe.